Hello, my friend. Welcome to tonight's bedtime story. This is Luna. Tonight, I'll be here with you, gently guiding you toward rest. Right now, you don't need to hold anything together anymore. There's nothing left for you to accomplish. Tonight, all you need to do is listen. To be with you during this quiet moment before sleep, to be a gentle voice beside you, is something calm and deeply comforting. Tonight's story is for children, and just as much for the child who still lives within you. This is a story for anyone, no matter how your day has been, whether your mind feels clear or tired, or simply quiet and present. This is a slow-moving world, a place that doesn't rush forward. Here, rest is not laziness, but something completely natural. Before the story truly begins, we'll take just a few gentle moments to let your breathing slow down and allow your body to find a place of safety. So now, if you're ready, let's begin to relax together. Now, let's begin to relax together. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1. As I do, there's no effort required. Simply allow yourself to let go little by little. 10. Feel the support beneath you. Perhaps it's the bed, the sofa, or whatever is holding you tonight. Truly feel that support. Beneath it all is the deeper support of the earth, steady, quiet, and always there. 9. You are safe. Know that tonight. My voice is simply a friend, a gentle companion, guiding you only toward calm and safe places. 8. Now, gently bring awareness to your body. There's nothing to change, just notice. When you're ready, take a slow breath in, and then slowly breathe out. Once more, in and out. 7. With each exhale, allow your body to soften a little more. In your mind, slowly move through your body, noticing anywhere that may still be holding tension or tiredness. 6. Perhaps your feet, your legs, your belly, your chest, your back, or your shoulders. If you'd like, allow them to relax now. 5. The day is done. Whatever has happened today can be set aside for now. There's nothing to revisit, nothing to plan. This moment is only for rest. 4. If thoughts appear, there's no need to resist them. They are simply thoughts. They come and they go. Watch them drift away like leaves on a moonlit river, or clouds moving slowly across the night sky. 3. This is your moment. This is your time. You deserve rest. You deserve peace. 2. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do, no obligations at all. Simply settle here. 1. Allow your imagination to gently open. In your mind, a safe and quiet world begins to appear. a place that is slow and kind. Now, you're ready to drift into tonight's sleep story. Night arrives without ceremony. There is no clear moment when day ends and night begins. No bell, no announcement, no line drawn across the sky. Only the slow dimming of color, the gradual retreat of detail, until the coastline becomes a suggestion rather than a shape. The sea does not change its rhythm. Waves continue to move as they always have, rolling in, pulling back, repeating themselves without interest in time. But the land grows quieter, and the air cools just enough to be noticed. This is when the lighthouse light comes on. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just a steady glow that gathers strength, as if it has been awake all along and simply chooses this moment to be seen. For the lighthouse keeper, this is not the end of the day, it is the beginning. He arrives as he always does, walking the familiar path that curves along the edge of the cliff. The ground beneath his boots is uneven, but he knows exactly where to place his feet. There is no need to hurry, there is no reason to slow down. The key feels cool in his hand. The door opens with a sound he has heard thousands of times, a low, tired creak that never quite disappears, no matter how often it is oiled. Inside, the lighthouse smells the same every night. Stone, metal, a trace of salt carried in by the wind. It is a clean smell, but not a new one. Nothing here is new. He hangs his coat on the same hook, sets his bag down in the same place. These small decisions were made long ago. There is comfort in not having to make them again. The staircase waits. It winds upward in a slow spiral, each step worn slightly smooth by time. As he climbs, the sound of the sea fades, replaced by the soft echo of his own movement, boots on metal, breath in steady rhythm, the faint hum of the structure itself. He does not count the steps. He never has. At the top, the lantern room is quiet, except for the low, continuous sound of the light mechanism turning. Glass panels curve around the stace, their surfaces already catching reflections from the beam. Outside, the last traces of color slip from the sky. Blues deepen, grays soften. The horizon dissolves into something indistinct and gentle. He checks the light the way one checks on something trusted, not with worry, but with respect. Everything is in order. The bulb glows steadily. The rotation is smooth. No unusual sounds, no flicker. He wipes the glass slowly, even though it is already clean. This is not about necessity, it is about care. Each movement is deliberate but unforced. There is no rush in this place. The light does not demand urgency, it simply needs consistency. Outside, the beam sweeps across the water, touching the surface of the sea, then moving on, again and again. Somewhere far beyond the reach of his sight, a ship notices, not consciously, not with gratitude or thought, just a quiet recognition, a signal received, a course confirmed. The keeper does not imagine these ships. He does not picture faces or destinations. He has learned that imagining too much pulls the mind away from where it needs to be. Here, now, this light. He sits for a moment, resting his hands on the table near the window. The glass is cool beneath his fingers. The world outside feels distant but not unreachable. The night settles in fully now. Sounds grow softer. The wind loses its sharp edges. Even the sea seems to move with more restraint, as if aware that this is a time for quiet persistence, not display. For many people, night is an ending. For him, it is a space, a stretch of hours where nothing is expected of him except presence. He does not need to perform. He does not need to explain. There is no one watching. The light turns. The minutes pass. He checks his logbook, noting the time in careful handwriting. The pen moves smoothly, following a habit shaped by repetition. Each entry looks much like the last. Dates change, times advance, but the tone remains the same. Outside, darkness deepens, but it does not feel threatening. It feels complete. This lighthouse has stood through countless nights like this one. Storms, fog, seasons that blurred into each other. And still the light returned, again and again. The keeper stands by the window and watches the beam move across the water. There is nothing else he needs to do right now. No decision waiting, no question demanding an answer. Just the slow, reliable turning of light and the quiet understanding that for this stretch of night, everything is exactly where it should be. The world has narrowed, not in a suffocating way, but in a gentle one. Light, sea, stone, breath. The night is fully awake now, and the lighthouse is doing what it was built to do. So is he. The night does not rush. Once the light has been checked, once the first entries have been written, the hours begin to stretch in a different way, not empty, but unhurried. The keeper moves through the lighthouse in a pattern he no longer thinks about. Each action follows the one before it, not because it must, but because it always has. He walks the narrow corridor, hand brushing lightly against the wall. The stone holds the day's coolness, steady and unchanged. It does not react to his touch. It does not need to. At regular intervals, he checks the lantern room again. The light turns. The mechanism hums softly. Everything remains as it should be. There is a quiet satisfaction in this sameness, not boredom, not repetition for its own sake, but a rhythm that requires no interpretation. He wipes the glass once more, slowly, carefully, even though it will collect salt again by morning. The effort is temporary. That does not make it meaningless. Outside, the beam continues its patient sweep, across water, across distance, across places he will never visit. Somewhere beyond the darkness, ships move steadily forward, their engines low, their decks quiet, crew members speaking in voices kept intentionally calm. They do not think about the lighthouse keeper. They do not need to. The light is enough. He makes another entry in the logbook. Time recorded, weather noted, no unusual conditions. The words are simple. They do not carry emotion. They are not meant to. This record is not a story. It is a confirmation, a signal to the future that says, "This night passed as expected." Between these small tasks, there are long pauses. He sits near the window, watching the reflection of the light slide across the glass. Each rotation is familiar, predictable, reassuring. The minutes stretch, but they do not drag. There is no one asking anything of him, no message arriving, no call requiring a response. The world feels far away, but not abandoned. Occasionally, a distant horn sounds across the water, low, brief, gone before it can fully settle into thought. He does not react immediately. There is no need. The sound does not signal danger. It is simply another presence in the night, acknowledging its own movement. The keeper listens until silence returns. He knows this pattern well. Sound appears, sound fades. The night absorbs it. Time passes almost invisibly here, without screens, without notifications, without urgency disguised as importance. He checks his watch, then sets it aside. The exact minute matters less than the flow. This work does not reward speed, it rewards steadiness. There is a strange comfort in knowing that nothing new is required, no improvement, no optimization, just attention. He walks the stairs again, up and down, feeling the gentle pull in his legs. The movement keeps him present, anchored in his body. At the base of the tower, the wind presses softly against the door. It wants in. It always does. The structure answers by standing still. He pauses, listening to the lighthouse itself, the subtle creaks, the low vibration of the turning light, the building breathing in its own way. These sounds are not distractions. They are confirmations. Everything is working. Far out at sea, lights pass through the beam's path. White, yellow, sometimes red or green. For a brief moment, the lights meet, acknowledging one another without ceremony. Then they separate again, each returning to its own purpose. The keeper does not wave. There is no signal to send back. His role is already complete simply by remaining where he is. This is a kind of usefulness that asks for nothing in return. No recognition, no thanks, no proof. Only continuation. The night deepens, but it does not feel heavier. If anything, it feels more settled. Thoughts slow naturally here, not because they are forced to stop, but because there is nothing feeding them. He thinks briefly of the world beyond the tower, cities with their layered lights, rooms still awake, people moving from one task to another. The thought passes without pulling him along with it. He returns to the window. The light turns. The sea answers by remaining the sea. There is peace in this exchange, a quiet agreement between structure and flow. The keeper takes a slow breath. The watch continues. Nothing dramatic has happened. Nothing needs to. And that is exactly the point. As the night grows deeper, it becomes thinner, not darker, but quieter. The spaces between sounds stretch wider. Even the sea seems to pause longer between its movements, as if allowing the silence to exist on its own terms. This is the hour when thoughts sometimes arrive, not loudly, not all at once, just a gentle presence waiting to be noticed. The keeper does not resist them. He has learned that resistance gives thoughts weight. Instead, he lets them pass through the same way the light passes across the water. Some thoughts stay only briefly, others linger, resting at the edge of awareness without demanding attention. He remembers earlier years, not in detail, but in fragments. A room with a window left open, a voice calling his name from another room, a decision made quietly without fully understanding how long it would last. These memories do not arrive with pain. They arrive like old photographs, slightly faded, their sharpness softened by time. He does not try to correct them. He does not argue with what they show. They are simply evidence that other versions of life existed. There were people once who filled his days with conversation, plans that seemed important at the time, words spoken quickly as if there would always be time for more. Some of those people are gone now, not lost, just elsewhere. Some of those words were never finished, not because of conflict, but because life moved on before they could be. The keeper does not label this as regret. Regret implies a need to change the past. This feels different. This feels like acknowledgement. He allows the memory to remain for as long as it wishes, then watches it fade without chasing it. The light continues its slow turning. Outside, the sea does not respond to memory. It does not recognize names or dates. It moves forward without needing to understand. There is comfort in that. He stands near the window, feeling the cool air against his face. The glass reflects a faint outline of his figure, blurred and indistinct. He does not study the reflection. He already knows what he looks like. What matters more is that he is here, present. There were times in his life when stillness felt uncomfortable, when silence invited questions he was not ready to answer. That is no longer the case. Now, stillness feels earned. The thoughts that arrive now do not demand he fix anything. They do not demand conclusions. They simply pass through, quietly confirming that the past existed and that it no longer needs attention. He thinks briefly of paths not taken, then releases them. Those paths belong to another version of himself, one who lived under different conditions, with different information and different needs. This version is not in conflict with that one. They coexist without argument. The keeper takes a slow breath and lets it go. The lighthouse remains steady, unaffected by inner movement. The light does not flicker when memories surface. It turns. It always turns. There is a subtle relief in knowing that not every feeling requires action. Some are meant only to be noticed, then allowed to dissolve. The night holds these moments without judgment. No voice asks him why things happened the way they did. No expectation presses for explanation. Here, existence is enough. The keeper returns to his chair, sitting comfortably, hands resting loosely in his lap. The quiet is no longer empty. It feels complete. The deepest part of night has arrived, and within it, there is nothing left to resolve. The night begins to loosen its hold long before morning arrives. There is no announcement, no sudden change, only a quiet shift in the air, as if darkness itself has decided it no longer needs to stay fully awake. The keeper notices it, not with his eyes, but with his body. The silence feels lighter, the cold less sharp. Somewhere beyond the horizon, light is already gathering. Inside the lighthouse, everything remains steady. The beam continues its rotation, unchanged in pace, unchanged in purpose. This is the final stretch of the watch. He makes his last entries in the logbook. Time recorded, conditions stable, nothing unusual to report. The words are familiar, written countless times before. They do not mark an ending, they simply acknowledge that the night has been held from beginning to now. He walks the tower one last time, moving slowly, letting each step land fully before taking the next. The staircase responds with its usual quiet echoes. The walls offer no comment. Everything has already said what it needed to say. At the lantern room, he pauses. Outside, the sky has softened. Dark blue gives way to something less defined, a color that belongs to neither night nor day. The light still turns, but it no longer feels alone. Soon, it will no longer be the only guide. He checks the mechanism carefully, touching the metal, listening for any change. There is none. The lighthouse has done its work. So has he. He allows himself a longer pause now, standing quietly as the beam sweeps past him again and again. This is not a moment for reflection, it is a moment for completion. There is nothing left to hold on to, nothing left to watch for. The world is preparing to carry itself again. The keeper closes the logbook and sets it in its place. He takes a slow breath, then another, feeling the weight of the night leave his shoulders. Outside, the sea remains calm, unconcerned with shifts of responsibility. It will continue under daylight, just as it did under darkness. Soon, someone else will arrive, another set of footsteps, another presence. The keeper does not need to meet them. There is no handover required. The lighthouse will explain everything simply by standing there. He moves toward the door, descending the stairs with the same unhurried pace that brought him up. At the base of the tower, he pauses once more, listening. The sounds are changing now, not louder, just different. A distant bird, the faint suggestion of wind moving inland. Morning is approaching without asking permission. He opens the door and steps outside. The air feels new, but not unfamiliar. Behind him, the lighthouse continues to stand, light still turning, for a little while longer. He does not look back for long. There is no need. The night has been completed. Nothing was lost. Nothing was left undone. He walks away quietly, leaving no mark of his presence except the simple fact that the light remained on until it was no longer needed. The world is ready now, and so is he. You can rest. Now the story has gently come to a pause. There's nothing you need to remember and nothing you need to understand. From here, only sound remains. Perhaps it is rain, perhaps distant natural sounds far away. These sounds do not require your attention, and they do not ask you to follow. They will simply exist, just like the night. If you are still awake, you can simply listen. If you are already asleep, that's perfectly fine. Now, let the sounds continue. From Luna, wishing you a peaceful night.